This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by Richard Van Wickler is superintendent of the Cheshire County Jail, and a man frustrated with New Hampshire liberty activists. He is said to have commented, activists should pick another county to do civil disobedience, because his jail doesn't deserve their resistance. Van Wickler says his conditions and his approach to inmates is far more humane than what you'll find in most U.S. jails. But there's one benefit to him in having me in such a jail. It gives me the chance to confirm or deny his claims. My experiences during the 6-day stay were somewhat consistent with his claims. I witnessed no uncalled for beatings, no unspeakable conditions, and little malice on the part of corrections officers. But a gulag with lipstick is still a gulag. On July 11, 2009, my stay is nearing its end. A change begins to manifest itself among my blockmates. Universally supportive and friendly up to this point, they now begin to critique my mission. "Hey, Free Stater," one of them says, "what kind of change have you guys really accomplished?" I mention the expected passage of a medical marijuana bill, but before I can list other feats, derision ensues. "Who cares about that? That's not going to affect me. Vermont has full decriminalization." "Okay then," I say, "how about the Real ID Resistance Act?" "What's that?" I tell them it's a law that forbids cooperation with the feds on an identity card regimen. I don't have a chance to mention anything else immediately, because now the entire cell block has erupted in animated and interesting conversation. But the detainees are still unconvinced we have much to offer. "How come there were only 7 people at that protest for you the other day?" "Why'd you guys pick New Hampshire anyway? They put people in jail for nothing around here." "What are you in here for again?" "Running a video camera in a court lobby." "And what's your profession again?" "I'm a journalist. I run a video camera." "So you were put in jail for doing your profession? That's some messed up shit." I ask what the inmates think we should do to attain more freedom. What's their suggested path? And by way of answering, he outlined his own case. He says he's in jail for essentially refusing to help the police put someone in jail. He says they're calling it conspiracy. Presumably he wants help of some kind with that kind of case, or that kind of law. Also, going back to the discussion about Superintendent Van Wickler's frustration with the fact that we're coming into his jail, as the guards probably told me 10 different times, it's not their call, it's not the jail's call who goes into jail. The reason people are ending up in Cheshire County Jail is not primarily to protest conditions there, it's because a judge is putting them there. And he's doing that because they choose to do their activism, their civil disobedience, in a place where there are the most civil disobedience. None of that is Van Wickler's fault. But if he's actively participating in hurting us by keeping us in concrete boxes and not even speaking out against it for the most part, then that's probably something that's going to limit sympathy for him. He is at least speaking out against the drug war in general, and I do wish more of us had better relations with him. There have been instances where one or more activists have spit on some of his vehicles, and maybe that has not helped matters any. I can't imagine Gandhi doing anything like that. Anyway, on roughly July 10th or July 11th, I'm able to get another message out. It reads, "Doing great, but still isolated. In special housing unit, 23 hours a day, probably over failure to provide certain info. Possible release, 12:01 a.m., 7/12 Sunday, though not counting on it. Received 14 letters on 7/8, similar number 7/9. Sam's MLK postcard has inspired writing of King-style letter from a New Hampshire jail. Unable to acquire stamps in timely manner. Continuing work on my book, The Granite Tower. No major abuses to report. Clark died from drug overdose, according to inmates. Staff mum on subject. Thanks all. Please broadcast this message. On the job means on the record. One of the many things I learned from this stay is that it would probably be good to have someone, or maybe 2 or 3 people, sort of standing by who have the ability to record the phone calls that I make. Then I would really be able to do the Ridley Report from jail. The only element that would be missing would be video I shot. And in theory, that could be filled in by someone who's editing, so the Ridley Report could be done almost all the way from jail. Of course, you could do the same thing. If you're going to go into jail, you could make sure that there's people you can call that can record your calls, and then those calls could air on our YouTube channels. They say being in jail magnifies your voice, but it would probably be even more effective if your voice was taped and rebroadcast. Other things that I learned: Cheshire guards do not always confiscate people's watches. I had my watch with me the entire stay, and no one ever tried to take it, and inmates were constantly asking me what time it was. I learned that one way to make time go faster in a jail, if you can plan it in advance, would be to have people order specific books for you. Books from the publisher, books you know you'll be interested in. This could, however, be a little bit expensive because you do have to have them sent directly from the publisher. I also learned that the thing I find myself lowest on is information on current events outside. Current liberty-related events within the movement outside. So I don't know about everybody else, but if I'm in jail again, the way you can really help is to send me maybe the latest forum posts or something like that, the latest articles about what we're up to. Of course, I also learned that at the Cheshire jail, if you come in with money in your pocket, they don't confiscate it the way the Essex jail did in Massachusetts. They actually will just throw it in your canteen account. So whatever amount of money you want in the account, that's the money you should have in your pocket, or maybe a little bit more, when you show up at the jail. No idea how it is at other jails in New Hampshire. Freaking.com